Hello, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be talking about this. Is that how your records look like? If so, then this video is definitely for you, because this video is going to talk to you about what bookkeeping actually is. If all you do is actually just hand over a box of receipts to your accountant for the end of the year, then you're not actually doing bookkeeping. And in the UK, especially as a sole trader, you're on a ticking time bomb, because there's going to be an introduction of what's called making tax digital, which is going to mean that you're going to have to complete bookkeeping to some form, and you're going to have to make sure it's submitted on a quarterly basis. So join me in this video as we talk about what bookkeeping actually is and why your business will flourish because of it. Stay tuned. Hello, my name is Patrick. I am a chartered accountant, a certified UK trainer, and fancy new logo, that QuickBooks Chap on the internet, head of accounts here at Boffix, and also your friendly podcaster who goes live 8:30 AM on the streaming platforms of your choice for Ask the Accountant. Now, today's video is quite straightforward. We're going to talk about what bookkeeping actually is and why you should be doing it. Now, bookkeeping comes in many ways. And primarily, as I said in the intro, it's all about converting this, a pile of receipts, into some form of bookkeeping. Now, a simple book like this could be all you need, stating what money you've received and what money you've expensed. But with making tax digital so soon, we would recommend a piece of software like Intuit QuickBooks. QuickBooks itself can be on mobile phone, on your iPad, on your desktop. And best of all, if you want a discounted version of QuickBooks Online, head over to our e-store where we can hook you up. So let's talk first of all about fundamentally what bookkeeping is. And it's basically taking all of those receipts, those prime records we like to call them, and making it so that it's actually easy to understand what's happened. And if you think about it, think what your end goal needs to be. If you've got a tax return to complete and you've got all of those boxes to complete in the tax return, then the best thing for you to do is make it really easy for you to be able to complete that tax return by working out those numbers throughout the year. And ultimately what you're doing, taking those prime records and put them into the categories they relate to. So your income goes to income, and your expenses are all split out into what expense categories you need. It might be mileage, it might be travel costs, purchasing goods, telephone expenses, insurance. All of those categories are quite important for you and your business. And splitting them into those categories not only makes it easier for you to complete that tax return at the year end, but also, crucially, it gives you really important information of how your business is doing. And when you look at what income you received against the expenses you're incurring, that's when you can figure out what your profit and loss is going to be. And profit and loss is so important because ultimately in business, we want to make profit, right? And if we're making a loss, we need to understand why we're making that loss. What of those expenses is driving and costing your business far more than it should do, and therefore causing you to make a loss in a particular period. And if you didn't have bookkeeping, it's very hard to understand that. Yes, you could go to the age-old, well, I've got money in my bank and either that money is going up or down, but ultimately that's not giving you the full picture. Bookkeeping is designed not only to make it really easy for you to complete your tax return at the year end, but also makes it super simple for you in terms of understanding how your business is doing. And that is where, for me, bookkeeping really shines. So one of the first key parts about bookkeeping is separating your business and personal expenses. Now, the best thing for you to do about this from day one is to make it really disciplined in the way that you run your business. If you have a separate business account and a separate personal account, well, that's going to straight away draw those lines. Anything personal out of the personal account, and anything business related from that business account. And from a bookkeeping point of view, especially if you're using software like QuickBooks Online, then you're going to have the opportunity to actually connect that business bank account to QuickBooks, and that's going to make your life so much easier. Because if you've connected the bank and you're letting that information go into the bookkeeping, well, that's going to make it so that all you need to do is categorize what those expenses and that income relates to, making it super simple. I've already said bookkeeping system, and I've talked about QuickBooks, but there are others on the market, and it's really important you find what's right for you. Finding the right bookkeeping system that works with you means that you're constantly going to keep up to date with it. It also means, and this is really crucial, that you find a solution that you can understand what the end result is. Because the most important person who will ever read this bookkeeping is you. And you need to know how the numbers that are going through that bookkeeping relates to your business so that you can make crucial information. We talk a lot on this channel about real-time information. Having a cloud solution like QuickBooks means that you get access to it even in the phone. And if you've got access to this at all times, well, that's going to help you make those decisions and understand exactly how your business is going. So really, you need to be thinking about making sure that you get the right system in place. Now, I don't want to make this too complicated, but when you're talking about systems and solutions, you basically have two different types of systems out there. There's what's called a single entry solution and a double entry solution. Now, the double entry one's probably the more complicated, but it's the easiest one to kind of understand. In a double entry solution, like QuickBooks Online, you don't only tell QuickBooks what that relates to, but also where it was paid from. And the idea is then that you can reconcile where that expense came from or that income was received to. And the idea would be that you'll have more confidence in the figures at the end. On the other hand, the single entry bookkeeping system, like a solution called QuickBooks Self-Employed, which is their smallest version, completely simplifies that and only needs to know what and where that expense and income relates to. It doesn't care about where it was paid from because it doesn't actually create that other entry. Now, this is far more simplified, and for the smaller businesses that could be really attractive. But just be careful, because I've seen a lot of mistakes from people using that solution because you can't go and confirm what your bank balance is. Therefore, it's going to be really difficult to get confidence that the numbers going in have the full picture. So if you've got a really simple business, think about the simpler single entry business solutions like QuickBooks Self-Employed. But if you really want to take your business to that next level and you want to feel confident in what's there, then look at a double entry bookkeeping solution, just like QuickBooks Online. Okay, depending on how big your business is, this next step and tip is going to help you decide how you're going to go about your bookkeeping. Basically, you have an option. You can do what's called cash-based bookkeeping or accrual-based bookkeeping. The cash one's really straightforward. All you have to worry about is when money comes and goes into a bank account or you actually physically go and buy something from cash. It's called cash basis because it literally is only looking and accounting for money that's gone in and out of a bank account or cash account as and when it happens. Accrual-based businesses are more complicated, and you account for income and you account for expenses when they arise. That's not necessarily the same point as when you pay for them. So you think about it from an income point of view. If you send an invoice to someone and you let them know they've got 30 days to pay it, well, in a cash basis, you would record that income when the money's received, but in an accrual basis, you would have already recorded it the date that you sent the invoice. And from an expense point of view, it's the same concept. On a cash basis, if you've already paid for something, well, that's when you will record it. But if you had a bill for that product or service, and whatever date that bill arrives at, that's when you record it. And it's a separate entry to say that you've actually received the money later down the line. Now, it's really complicated trying to decide which is right for you and your business, but ultimately it comes to the size of your business. If you've only got a small business, then cash accounting is probably going to be okay and all you really need. And it goes back to that single entry bookkeeping solution because you can only do cash accounting at that point. But crucially, if you're a bigger business or looking to grow your business substantially, then realistically you need to be looking at accrual basis. That way, you're going to have a better insight of how your business is doing. Because if you've got money that's due to come through or money you're due to pay at a later date, you want to be using cash flow forecasting to understand exactly how that's going to impact your business, making you make better decisions and ultimately having a more grasp on how your business is doing. Next step and tip is all about making sure that you're recording your transactions and how you record them. Ultimately, especially if you're using software, when you come and see a transaction within QuickBooks, for example, you're going to get the option to drop down the box and you have various options and solutions there. It could be travel, insurance, cost of sales, whatever that item is, you want to put the category that relates to it. And I'll say this again, and I'll keep on saying it, the most important person who's ever going to choose that category and whatever that category relates to is you. Most of the solutions give you an option to create your own categories. And if that's the case, then you want to be creating categories that make sense for you and your business and how your business is going to go. For example, if you're happy just throwing all your telephone costs, being mobile costs, landline costs, whatever the costs are going to be, all into one telephone cost, then keep doing it. But if you're a little bit unsure about how much that's costing you, if that's costing you the right thing, if you're putting the right sort of cost into that category, then maybe you need to start thinking about splitting it. Maybe you want to be looking at having mobile costs, telephone costs, internet costs. And I know some businesses who even split their mobile into data and calls. That way, they're 100% focused on making sure they're only spending the money they need to. And if one of those costs goes drastically out of control, they're straight on it and looking to find ways in which they can actually reduce that burden to their business. Ultimately, when you're picking those categories, make sure you understand it. Make sure you, if you're running a report, can figure out what those costs relates to. If there's a question mark in your head, you've not got the right category. But if you understand what that category relates to, you're doing it right. Next step is all about sorting those transactions. How are you going to do them? Well, if you are quite cash basis like this one, and you've just got a pile of receipts, first of all, do think about having that separate business account just to make your life easier. But if you are just a cash-based business, thinking about using solutions like QuickBooks where you can take the photo of those transactions as and when they arrive. Cleverness is you then don't have to go and actually extract the information. Software like QuickBooks will extract that information for you using a solution called OCR technology, which basically means it reads that receipt. It extracts the date, the amount, and probably give you a good estimate of where that category should go. And all you've got to do is just confirm that category that's been selected is the right category for you. Keeps it simple. So when you're sorting transactions, first of all, really do think about having that separate bank account, getting that information into one of the softwares. And if you don't have a bank account, or if you do have other transactions, especially cash-based ones, just discipline yourself to use the technology on hand. Take photos of them as you go along, and you'll find it's going to be a lot easier for you to keep on top of that bookkeeping. And finally, bonus tip of why all this is important. If you've got real-time information about your business, if you're understanding how your business is going, then not only can you make better decisions, but also you can start thinking about budgeting for those taxes. You see, especially in something like QuickBooks Online, there's a whole section dedicated to estimating what your tax position is going to be. So throughout the year, you can make sure that you're scoring along in that tax saving pot as much tax money as you need. And not over declaring if you don't need to put as much money in there, but crucially, but you're not under saving either. Because if you get to the point where you need to pay your tax bill and you don't have enough money there, well, unfortunately, that's going to be a very uncomfortable conversation to have with yourself. But if you're disciplined, if you've already know what to expect from that tax position, then you're already going to be in a better position. So please, use the information that's there. Don't just blindly throw data at those softwares we mentioned. Don't just blindly do bookkeeping for the sake of it. Do bookkeeping because A, it's going to improve your business and make your business better and stronger, and B, so you have a better understanding of what your tax position is going to be. If you heed that advice, then bookkeeping doesn't become a chore, but it becomes a way in which you can make the most out of your business. And for me, that's the difference between business not just surviving, but thriving. And that's exactly our motto here at Boffix. If bookkeeping's been an absolute nightmare for you, then do consider talking to us. We offer bookkeeping solutions for every type of business. And again, if you're looking to get a discounted version of a bookkeeping solution, head over to our e-store, where we'll be more than happy to give you a discount on QuickBooks Online. My name's been Aaron Patrick. Hopefully this video has been useful for you. If so, don't forget to use the like button, subscribe button, all that sort of stuff. It really does help a channel like ourselves go to that next level. And if you can, please do tell people about where you found some useful business advice here at Boffix. My name's been Patrick. As always, this video has been a pleasure to do for you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.